Bounce in the United States, there are at least 5 million people currently living with age-related dementias. This number is expected to rise as more people live longer. So how do you know if you or loved ones have dementia or Alzheimer's disease? Well, Dr. Charles Edwards and Dr. Aris Shakonis join us tonight to tell us about a symposium they're hosting to discuss these issues. And first, you're all with the Memory Center of Charlotte, a nonprofit organization, and we appreciate you all being here tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Dr. Edwards, I'll start with you. What areas of the brain are affected as we age?
Well, in normal cognitive aging, the part of the brain that we're most civilized, what's called the frontal lobe, is involved. The parts when the brain is diseased and we have dementia, different parts of the brain, the hippocampus and the temporal lobe, so it's a different area.
Okay. All right. Now, what are normal age-related changes in your brain, and how are they manifested?
Well, what happens is that we normally, over time, we really peak cognitively about between age 25 and 30. And then we kind of go down, as you know. Mm-hmm. With normal cognitive aging, you see the frontal lobe shrink and some changes occur inside of it. And it affects the way that we see the world. It affects the way that we deal with things, working memory, being able to multitask, being able to concentrate for long periods of time. All those things are affected.
And the practical aspects of normal cognitive aging are what?
Well, it's just important for us to realize that when we forget someone's name or something happens, we leave our car on or something, that we're not developing dementia, that these are things that are normal. And then Aris in the symposium is going to talk more about when we go across that line and we develop dementia.
Absolutely. Dr. Shakonis, when do normal age-related changes become concerning? I know we mentioned some of those. Any more?
Yes, I think what we really look for is something called mild cognitive impairment, also known as MCI. And in the United States, there are about 10 million people above the age of 65 who have that. Contrast that with about 5.7 million individuals who have Alzheimer's type of dementia.
Right.
So it is a big concern.
It's a big number, isn't it?
It's very big, yes, indeed. And it's important to recognize it because what Dr. Edwards was saying is that it differs from mild or normal aging in that MCI does not impair a person's function. In other words, the person and family members may recognize a cognitive difficulty in memory or performing tasks, but the person can still be successful in doing them. There's no disability like there would be in a dementia like Alzheimer's disease. And because of its prevalence, the fact that it can be treatable, it can be from depression, side effects from medication, strokes, sleep disorders, we should see folks with that so we can help them. It is true that there's an increased risk of developing Alzheimer's when you have this condition. Maybe about 32% of people can get Alzheimer's in 5 years once they have the diagnosis of MCI or mild cognitive impairment, but it's important to recognize and get help for.
Now, I can imagine for family members who see this, it can be difficult to watch, and I can imagine it can be difficult to catch as well as far as the memory loss and whether somebody has just plain forgotten something or if they're repeating the same story over again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. When do symptoms really become serious where you have to do something, step in and do something?
Well, I think the distinction is if there is a disability where a person is finding it increasingly difficult to live independently. And we talk about instrumental activities of daily living that most of us take for granted, being able to drive, pay bills, keep relationships, work to keep oneself healthy and sheltered and obtain food and so forth. When these things are starting to fail, that could be a warning sign.
Okay. Now, guys, if you're diagnosed, what do you recommend you do then?
Well, with the diagnosis, we feel like that you can lead almost a completely normal life with some short-term memory loss, provided you recognize it and compensate for it. And one of the things we do in our clinic is we teach you how to compensate for it, also teach the family how to deal with those shortcomings. And so it's sort of a corporate response to it.
Right. All right. It's kind of simplified to a certain extent. We appreciate you being here. I feel like we can have you come back numerous times and still have so many things to talk about as far as this is concerned. So we really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
We look forward to having you back at some point. For more information, log on to WBTV.com. Look in the web extra section right there on the home page. And we got a symposium. You want to mention that coming up April 12th, correct? 8:30 to 11:30 in the morning at Myers Park Methodist Church. The cost is $25. well worth it to understand what your brain is doing, right? And your family's
think it's a
brain.
steal.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for being
Thank
here.
you, Delano.
Brigida, to you.
All right, Delano, we want